In this week's GTA 5 O'Clock, we answer the questions that are most important to you, including what are the graphics, animation and frame rate like? How does the character switching work? When will Rockstar release footage from the demo? Plus, will we see Las Venturas and San Fierro in GTA 5 DLC? It's the only GTA 5 show you need. It's this week's GTA 5 O'Clock. Hello, welcome to this week's edition of GTA 5 O'Clock. I'm Tim Weaver, I'm here with Dan Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Hello, hello.
So this week we are splitting the show into two halves, two fairly similar halves. The first half we're going to answer some frequently asked questions because we're still getting the same types of questions every week, and I know that perhaps not everyone tunes in every week, so I think it's worth repeating some of this stuff, maybe adding something new. And then the second half of the programme will answer some of your questions, specific questions that you've posted on our YouTube page, gone to our Twitter account and sent us a message there, and we'll attempt to add some answers and some insight into your questions. Dan, we want people to subscribe. We want people to follow us on Twitter. Why don't we tell people about our Twitter account?
Subscribe, click the button now, at GTA Video Clock. Let's answer some questions.
Okay, so first question in the frequently asked questions question list, Dan, is when is the game out?
September the 17th on PS3 and 360, which are the only confirmed platforms at present.
Okay, question 2 ties into that people still want to know the answer to, and we're still going to tell them the same one, which is, will it be coming to next generation consoles and PC?
Rockstar have confirmed nothing about PC, PS4 or Xbox One. Personally, and based on evidence and stuff in previous episodes, I've always said, and we've always said, that it will come to next generation consoles and PC. I would say that the only thing preventing an announcement on that is the fact that they have to sell copies of the current gen version. If they announce a PS4 version or an Xbox One version now, so close to the launch of the PS3 and 360 game that's been years in development at a huge multi-million-dollar cost, there is a risk that people simply wouldn't buy the current gen versions and hang on, which is not what they want. What they want is everybody to go out on day 1, September the 17th, and buy the current gen versions, after which point they may announce, either relatively imminently or let's say 3 months afterwards, they will announce, I think, enhanced next generation versions of GTA 5. And by enhanced, I mean possibly with a new functionality or mode in a similar way to when they announced the PC version of GTA 4 and it had the replay editor mode. I think it's likely to have something, a functional feature like that, or it could be tied to a set of DLC announcements. Essentially, I think there's no way they won't release it on next gen. You can't look at GTA 5 just as a standalone single player product. It's effectively going to become a platform or service, and I think the multiplayer will try and build out a degree of like a GTA 5 world that will have its own social media presence. I think if Rockstar are smart, and they are, they will want to transport your social media progress to the next generation platforms and take you over to next gen playing multiplayer. I simply think it will happen for business reasons on next gen.
Okay, and if you had to take a rough guess at when that would be, when it might come out, I mean?
2 ways to look at this. It's all tied to the end of 2K's fiscal year, which ends on March the 31st, 2013. If they're looking for like a super huge fiscal year this year, they might try and get it out before March the 31st, 2014. Sorry, I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
March 2014. It's more likely, I think, they'd want to start the next fiscal year on a high. So let's say April or May in 2014, you'd probably see next-gen versions, and they would be essentially the current version up-resed with a new feature and probably new DLC. That is my speculation, but I'd be very surprised if it doesn't happen.
Okay, question 3. People ask this quite a lot, and although Rockstar have underlined the answer quite a lot, there still seems to be a bit of confusion. So let's clear it up once and for all. Dan, will there be any other cities other than Los Santos in GTA 5?
Officially, no. GTA 5 is set in Los Santos and the surrounding countryside, which we've talked about, the idea of Blaine Country, the Alamo Sea, the areas to the north, Mount Chiliad, those kind of regions. Rockstar have confirmed nothing outside of that. Obviously, in GTA San Andreas, which is based on a similar set of geography, there was Las Venturas, there was San Fierro, which is effectively San Francisco and Las Vegas. It's possible that those things will get released further down the line as DLC episodes, which I think will be a popular move with fans and almost certainly guarantee they'd sell a lot of versions of that. That's all I can speculate, and there's nothing known beyond that.
Okay, question 4. How big is the map? I've got the stats here. It's 3.5 times the size of Red Dead Redemption. A play area that's 5 times as... that's 3.5 times the landmass, I think, of Red Dead Redemption. A play area that's 5 times as big, which is and equal to the size of Red Dead Redemption, San Andreas, and GTA 4 combined. And how they've got to that figure is that they include the underwater sections in that as well, because, of course, we know that the underwater areas are fully mapped in the same way as the land areas are. That includes rivers, lakes, deserts, mountains, farmlands, city, ocean, military bases, airports, and more. Question 5, Dan. Lots of people ask this, I think, because obviously Rockstar haven't released a demo, so people out there haven't been fortunate enough to see it. They want a kind of comparison. So graphically, what does it look like? How do the visuals stand up? And what could you sort of compare it to out in the market at the moment in terms of the standard of the visuals?
Okay, this is all an expectations game. I know people who've been to see GTA 5 before us who come back, I think, slightly disappointed by the graphics. They don't know what they were expecting, whether they felt the trailers have misled them. When I sat through the demo, as did Tim, I think we both came away feeling very pleasantly surprised about the visuals. They are clearly and obviously a step ahead of what we saw in GTA 4.
Definitely,
partly because of the sheer beauty of the world versus the nature of the city in Liberty City. But I think even on a technical level, it's much more robust and assured. There's significantly better draw distances. I know some websites picked up details where they felt disappointment with the draw distance, but I'll tell you, when you're seeing it and when you're falling out of a plane or you're seeing how far back it draws, it's a very impressive set of draw distances, and they're not pretend horizons, or it's not like a false world. They are places you can visit and explore, and that is the key point. For me, the visuals were comparable to, but not as good as, a game like Uncharted 2. Now, bear in mind, Uncharted 2, to an extent, uses a sort of smoke and mirrors linear technique to present environments that you have limited interaction with. So I think that's why, ultimately, Uncharted 2 at its best, or Uncharted 3 at its best, looks better than GTA 5, but it's comparable. And I thought, you know, whilst I could believe the game was running on PlayStation 3 and 360, it was really at the top end of my expectations, and GTA 5 to me looked like a very modern, confident game.
And obviously, you know, it goes without saying that, as you alluded to, Uncharted, you know, plays a very smoke and mirrors game. It's a very effectively quite linear game, and whereas GTA 5 is dealing in a landmass so huge with such diverse geography that there is going to be some, you know, something's going to be offset against that. And if there's a slight downgrade in the quality of the visuals, it's only because the world is so ambitious.
Yeah, some people in the comments previously have said that's no excuse. It simply must look better, or it doesn't.
Well, it is an excuse.
It's literally an excuse,
yeah,
because technically that is a factor, and you cannot ignore that. It's simply a technical factor that cannot be ignored. And I think that essentially, you know, the way GTA 5 looks is you know, I think the trailers are misleading only in that is not a perspective that you would normally view a game. They are like any game where you view a cutscene from a different perspective. They might be in-game models, but that's not how you view them. Essentially, think of like GTA 4, but in a much more aesthetically beautiful environment, with much more solid frame rates and draw distances, and with a sheen of, I suppose, like dynamic effects that are beyond anything you've seen before. And I mean that in terms of lighting, clouds, rain, all those sort of little layering effects that have become quite popular in the last few years that make a game just feel a bit more alive. I think GTA 5 has got that.
Okay, question 6, Dan. What format did we see the game demoed on?
We think it was PS3. The guy had a PS3 pad in his hand, and apparently, according to other demos that took place in the world at the same time, PS3 was the confirmed format.
Okay, question 7. This one comes up a lot. Can we explain in plain English exactly how the character switching in the game works?
Yeah, Rockstar explained this to us. There are 3 ways in which character switching works. One is like a fully automated way, where you might enter a cutscene as one character, let's say Michael, and when you emerge out of the cutscene, you're playing as, say, Franklin, as in the game handles the switch for you. Now, another way is a sort of semi-automated dynamic way, where during a mission, like a hot part of a mission, the game may sort of dynamically pan to another character. For example, to a rooftop, say you play as Trevor firing an RPG, and then automatically flick back to that person. There's also a degree of, you can choose when to flop out to other characters during key missions. Now, the final way you can change is like a fully free way. So when you're playing the game off mission and fully free roaming within the world, you can flip into another character's body, which is almost like a geography shortcut. And then you'll wake up in the other character's body, and more often than not, they'll have scripted moments, so that when you shift from the city and Vinewood with, say, Michael, and then wake up as Trevor in Blaine County, Trevor might be, as we've seen in the demo, in his pants, stumbling around, surrounded by dead bodies. There'll be moments like that seeded throughout the game, like deliberate comedy switch moments that manually triggered, but the game will have them ready, waiting for you.
And it's worth pointing out as well that the further away the characters are from one another, the longer the switch between them takes. I mean, we saw in the demo that they had that kind of moment where it kind of zooms up into the sky, Google Maps style. But when they're close together, as we saw in the Blitz Play mission, you can zip between them like a click of a finger.
Snap, snap, snap. It's also worth noting that you press the D-pad to activate the radial wheel. On that radial wheel, you've got 3 characters like north, east and west, and on south, you've got a blank avatar, which will be your online character.
Okay, question 8. How many heists will there be?
Rockstar told Game Informer somewhere in the region of 5 and 6. I don't know if that number's locked. I certainly don't know it as a fact. We're yet to see a fully blown heist in progress, actually, in game.
Is it worth pointing out, Dan, the difference between the heist we're talking about here and the other heists in the game? I mean, there's 5 to 6 tentpole heists. These are the heists that you're going to sort of spend a lot of your time in the game working towards. But there will also be other mini heists where you kind of work out your strategy.
Yeah, the demo we were shown had a mission called Blitz Play, which isn't one of the core heists, but has similar functions to a heist, like a baby heist, I suppose. And that contains some of the core components of planning a heist, which include recruiting a team, which could be a getaway driver, it could be like a sniper or some guy to sort of help you out and assist. And the more money you pay, potentially, the better staff you get. And they will carry over, between missions, provided you don't get them killed. But if you hire better people, they will want a bigger cut of the money, which is simply how it works. So you employ based on what you're willing to pay out. Otherwise, they will be planning things such as you steal vehicles, and you can leave getaway vehicles in positions for when you escape. Am I missing out anything else on heist, Tim?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, there's a heist planning section. There are screenshots that show it off, where you see the character looking at a pinboard. That's going to form a key part of the game and will likely be a mode in multiplayer that we'll get onto.
Okay, question 9. What types of missions and mini-games will there be? I've got the answers here. Rockstar, quote, quote, hundreds of activities. We know that includes yoga, tennis, golf, triathlons, scuba diving, jet skiing, base jumping. We know there will be tons of side missions, above and beyond the missions Dan just talked about in the heist question, including the type that we saw in the demo where Michael went and kind of rescued, I suppose, the sort of up-and-coming actress Lacey Jonas from the clutches of the paparazzi. So there'll be missions like that where you can earn relatively small amounts, I guess, helping out people and doing sort of stuff like that. There'll also be character, property and vehicle customization. Rockstar haven't really talked an awful lot about that, but we have seen in lots of the screenshots characters dressed in very different things. We saw Trevor actually in front of a wardrobe in his trailer. We know that you can buy property, you can buy whole marinas if you like, but you can start off small scale and buy apartments, I think, and sort of stores and all that sort of stuff. And there's vehicle customization, where you can add paint jobs and spoilers, and you can change the rims on your cars and improve the performance of your cars. And the idea with that is that you take a vehicle, you improve it, and you work on it in order that it becomes the ultimate vehicle for the job you've taken on. So the heists kind of tie into the customization a little bit. And the idea, I think, that Rockstar are trying to push is not just to take one vehicle and dump it like you might have done in previous GTAs, is to take a vehicle, kind of show some love and attention to it, and improve it in the ways that are important to make sure that you complete the heist successfully. Number 10, Dan. how will multiplayer work?
Okay, Rockstar have confirmed nothing, so the following is informed speculation. It seems highly logical to expect a form of multiplayer co-op heists. It's also quite possible that I would expect, certainly within the multiplayer mode, your stats will accrue and you would become a more attractive heist member, to other people who'd want to work with you. I don't know whether, but I would expect there to be a degree of single-player crossover, so that your single-player character would take his stats possibly into the online realm. I don't know if that creates balancing issues, maybe not. That's quite possible. There's quotes going back quite a number of years attributed to Sam Houser, I believe, who talked about his dreams of effectively a GTA MMO, like a massively multiplayer online RPG or a game. I think he's always been attracted to the idea of like a persistent GTA universe where you grow and build and exist within that universe. And he quoted games like World of Warcraft and League of Legends, I think, as games that were interesting. And I think that's the logical future for GTA, to exist in a sort of permanent online space where there could be a permanent online war for property, for resources, with new ways to spend your money that actually show up against your cohorts. Rockstar have said they've got their own version of the internet in GTA 5 and their own version of social media. I previously speculated that could have a pull through to the online or multiplayer aspect. It could be that there's a kind of YouTube or photos snapping thing where you take photos of yourself in game and they've got some degree of currency in social media. I don't know, but essentially Rockstar are yet to announce their plans, and let's face it, they're going to have to do so fairly imminently.
Okay, so that's the frequently asked questions, the questions that come up most often every week. Now we're going to do specific questions from you, the readers. We're going to kick it off with a question from Matthew Riordan, who says, when will we get to see the demo that you guys saw?
I don't know, and it's quite possible you never will, given Rockstar's previous history. Essentially, I know a lot of people who are infuriated about this. The big reason is Rockstar like to control the message and they like mystique. So that if they show the demo to like a handful of trusted partners, they rely on those people to like go into the world and spread the message. And I think in a way they probably like the mystique of the game as it exists in your mind, between the gaps between explanation and actually seeing it. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they want to blow the whole thing wide open. I think they like to drop, to announce, to control the message, let people, get involved with rampant speculation, and essentially because they don't want to spoil the magic of the first time you put the game in the distro, you enter the world of Los Santos, and it's truly new and novel. I think Rockstar still are believers in mystique.
Okay. Question 2 from Monk237 says, what songs have been confirmed for the soundtrack? I've got a list here. I'll run through them quickly. Radar Love, originally by Golden Earring. Give It To Me Baby by Rick James. Glamorous by Fergie featuring Ludacris. I Like It by Enrique Iglesias, of all people, Dan. Regulate, Warren G featuring Nate Dogg. And the following songs have been confirmed to be in the game by the artist, Love Sosa by Chief Keef. And then we've heard these songs in the trailers. Ogden's Nut Gone Flake by the Small Faces, which is in the first trailer. Skeletons by Stevie Wonder, which we've come to love on this show, in the second trailer. Then in the 3 trailers that were released for the characters individually, in Michael's trailer we heard Radio Gaga by Queen. In Franklin's trailer, we heard Hood Gone Love It by J-Rock featuring Kendrick Lamar. And in Trevor's trailer, we heard Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way by Waylon Jennings. There are also, Dan, is some speculation that the French musician Kavinsky is going to have some big role in GTA 5.
Yeah, there's talk of him being involved with Night Ride FM, is that correct? Like an electro house channel. I previously speculated that possibly some of the Kavinsky-esque sound was in some of the dynamic music we heard, but perhaps you felt that it was something a bit more, I suppose, like somber and filmic.
Yeah, I mean, having I have a few Kavinsky songs on my my trusty playlist, and it didn't sound like his kind of vibe though. Yeah. But that's only because we heard just only two ambient tracks that Rockstar themselves had composed, or whoever that artist was composed. Yeah. So maybe it is him. Maybe he's just taking a bit of a change in direction. Also worth pointing out that in one of the, I think, pieces of artwork, Dan, but you'll correct me if I'm wrong, we saw someone wearing a Love Fist t-shirt. Love Fist, of course, being from GTA.
They're in Vice City, involved with Kent Paul. They're on the t-shirt of the girl who looks a little bit like Lindsay Lohan, who's being arrested.
Okay, 3. Dan, a good question by Mr. Hijack, who says, is there a jump button, or are they falling into the crowd of developers who make you hold the run button and you jump a ledge automatically? That's an excellent question. We had a discussion about that off air.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing anyone jump in a sort of slightly comic fashion during the demo. It was all quite consistent and realistic. But Rockstar have said that you will be able to navigate the scenery in perhaps more agile ways than before. So yeah, again, you would expect to be able to clamber and navigate key bits of scenery. I don't think you'll be skipping down the road like a daisy. That would look a bit daft. Okay,
question 4. A couple of people have asked this. NW3 Gamer JG and Ricardo Raya 19 say, and I'm paraphrasing here, how deep can you go underwater? What's at the bottom? Can you go into the water without your scuba gear on? And can you walk around on dry land in your scuba gear?
Can you walk on dry land in your scuba gear? I don't know. When we saw Trevor dive underwater, he put the scuba gear on in the boat and then dived down. How deep can you go? I haven't got an actual figure. I was actually just visually surprised by the scale and size of the ocean, and it did feel like you could go, this is completely a relative concept, like hundreds of feet or meters deep. It really did look deep. I don't know if you can dive without a scuba suit. I guess, again, based on the law of actual real life, you couldn't go that deep if you didn't.
I suspect you'll probably be able to go under the water for a very limited amount of time without a scuba suit, but to get down to the wrecks and where the real discovery is, I think you'll need a scuba suit on.
Yeah, but the main takeaway was that the ocean floor is huge, extensive, it's beautiful, and I was quite surprised at the scale of what they're planning.
On the subject of the underwater sections, Dan, John Stromberg got in touch with us via Twitter and said, how did the demo compare in terms of Trevor's underwater bit with what we saw of COD Ghosts?
That's a tough call. I mean, I've seen COD Ghosts running on what I believe was like the Xbox One or PS4 version, and I would say probably that was better looking by virtue of the fact that it's running on a next generation console. But I will say, I thought the underwater sections looked, again, as beautiful as anything I've seen this generation. And that's partly because, again, Rockstar understand aesthetics and know when to, for no good reason, let light filter through the reeds. And there was a constant sense of the ocean changing from like emerald to turquoise. And it would be constantly shifting colours and dimension. It felt very beautiful to me.
Okay, Core M Production says, when controlling Franklin, for example, would you be able to go and see Michael and then watch him go about his everyday life? How would this work?
I don't know, but I believe Rockstar have cited examples of being able to meet up with other characters and perform activities with them, like to play tennis. I think there was talk of could Michael play tennis with Franklin, which would be quite amusing. But I don't know in terms of will characters go about a daily routine and you shadow them? I'm not aware that Rockstar have talked about that.
Okay, I'm going to lump these next two questions together from Mo Murad and Jared Crane, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, who got in touch on Twitter. Mo wants to know what the animation's like in the game, how good is it, and Jared wants to know what the frame rate was like, because he says frame rate is very important to him.
Oh, this is such a difficult thing to say, isn't it? I thought, put it one way, the frame rate didn't, for me, ever break up or reach a level where it was noticeable that the frame rate had dropped out. I know in previous games you've almost felt like you've seen scenery pop in or you felt things slowing down. I didn't feel like we were getting any of that in our demo, but neither did I look at it and think, this is a level of fluidity I've never comprehended. Yeah. I simply thought it ran without noticeable glitch or frame rate drop.
Okay. Last question from KingOrlando 9 via Twitter says, what's the situation with GTA 5 DLC?
We don't know. Rockstar have said nothing. The only thing we know is that there's some like digital inducements with the special edition pack, which aren't directly, the DLC we probably couldn't expect full blown. It's quite possible, though again this is speculation, that Rockstar are saving announcements further down the line. They're possibly going to save some big DLC as a next gen inducement, which could be, again, like we say, it could be Las Venturas, it could be San Fierro. Could even be some kind of return to a famous previous city. Could be a character we'd love to know and come back. Or it could be, as they've done, just full-blown story expansions, much like Lost and Damned or the Ballad of Grey Tony. They may want to do different things within this giant universe they've created. So, I would fully expect full-blown, exciting DLC.
Okay, that's this week's show. We hope you've enjoyed it. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to everyone who continues to subscribe and get in touch with us. Do follow us on Twitter at GTAVOclock. Dan, anything else you want to add?
No, that's me. Thanks for your support.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll see you next week.